Hey guys, Marisa at kitchentablestamper.com. Welcome to video number 1 out of 5 in the Spruced Up Mega Stamp-a-Stack card class. This is the Mega Stamp-a-Stack packet. You can see it's a mega, and this is the 15 cards that this packet makes. I wanted to do a getting started video because we're making 15 cards, and I think that this is going to make making those 15 much easier. Now, usually our Stamp-a-Stack classes are wonder recipe classes, but this time we are doing a little different. So let me show you. In your Stamp-a-Stack, you're going to have a eighth of a package of the Celebrate Everything Host Exclusive Designer Series paper. Then you're going to have your card kits. There's 15 card kits here with all of your little die cut pieces inside the envelope. You're going to have your white cardstock. Now this is for stamping your spruced up images and for lining the inside of your black cards. You've got some basic black cardstock. This is for doing this wonderful texture element on the front of each card. So if you look at the design number 1, I'll show you here. We've got a black card base. It's got a panel that's set in, that's framed in, that's embossed. And then here's just a peek at the inside liner. You can do whatever you want inside, but I wanted to make sure that you had enough cardstock to line every one of these black cards. Then you've got your shaded spruce, crushed curry, granny apple green. This is for your spruced up die cuts. And then last, I always put a handmade thank you card and a little gift in your packets. Sometimes it varies. This time you've got your black dimensionals for the class as a little gift in there, the minis and regular. All right, so that's what the kit looks like. The first thing we want to do when you open up this kit is grab your white. You're going to take 8 sheets of white cardstock, and you want to cut this to be the liner of your cards. So you're going to take all of these 8 sheets. You need 15 liners, and so we're going to cut these liners together. The liner for the card is 5 1/8, and then we're going to rotate that and cut off pieces that are 3 7/8. You're going to cut 15 of these right off the bat so that you've got the liners for your card. Now we don't do this cutting for you, number 1, because we'd have to do hundreds and hundreds of them, but number 2, because it keeps the postage down. It keeps the envelope more flat, and it helps to get your kit to you in the nicest condition possible. So that's the method behind the madness. All right, so that's the inside liners. You're gonna do 15 of those. Now for your outside, that texture panel, you're gonna take your basic black cardstock and you're gonna make 2 5 1/4 by 4 inch panels for the front of your card. Now you're going to make 15 of those. All right, so we've got all that cutting done. Now let's handle our designer series paper in this getting started video. You can choose any of these patterns that you like. You can mix and match. You can do every card differently if you like. But if you want to do the cards exactly like the samples, then you'll need a sheet of Poppy Parade Stripe, a sheet of multicolor gingerbread. You'll need 2 sheets of the multicolor ornaments, 2 sheets of the granny apple with the little plus signs, and then 1 sheet of the spruce squigglies. All right, now we're gonna cut the cards or the pieces so that we have all of the exact same that you'll need for the 15 cards. So we're gonna start here with our ornament paper, and we're gonna put one of these in the trimmer so that the orientation of the pattern is up. We're gonna cut at 4 inches. We're gonna rotate and cut 2 and 2. So now we have 3 2x4 pieces. Put those in a little stack. Now this one, this is 2x6. We're going to cut this one down to 2x4.5. We're going to start another little stack. These are 2x4.5, and they go the other orientation. You can see that. Now we've got another piece of this ornament designer series paper. We need 3 more pieces that are 2x4.5. So we're going to watch our orientation. We're going to cut 4.5. And now we've got this gorgeous strip that we can use for another project. We're keeping our scraps as big as we possibly can. We're using our paper to its fullest with this cutting method. All right, so now we're going to have 2 and 2. That's our ornament paper. Done. Now that ornament paper in this orientation, this horizontal orientation, is for our card number 1. So let's go ahead and cut our Granny Apple Green Plus paper first. We're going to take this one and we're going to cut off 1.5 inches. And then we're going to make 1.5 inch squares. And we'll put those in a little pile aside. All right, there's our gorgeous little squares. Next, we're going to cut off 1 inch strips. We'll put those in another pile. We need 4 1 inch strips. Now we're left here with 4.5 by 2. And we need to cut this one down to 1 3/4 by 3 3/4. So we're going to go 1 3/4, which is going to give us the tiniest little scrap. 3 3/4, and that's the first piece for the card number 1. All right, so we're going to add that to the stack with our ornaments from card number 1. And I'm just making 4 stacks as I go, 1 for each of the designs. Now, these right here, little strips, the 1 inch strips, go with the ornaments in the other orientation. And then our little squares go to the side. So now we've got our spruce paper, our shaded spruce paper, and we're going to cut this one almost like we cut that first Granny Apple Green. What we want to do here is cut 1.5 inch squares, and we're going to pop them in this pile with the 1.5 inch squares. All right, there is one. Now we're going to turn this one, and we need 1 by 4 inch squares now. So we're going to turn this one into 4 inches, and we're going to take off 1 inch strips. And this is for our 4th card design. We need 4 1 inch strips, 1 for each copy of design number 4. So here's your scraps of your shaded spruce piece, and we'll set those aside. You can use those in another project. Now we've got our gingerbread multi, and we're going to cut the gingerbread multi and the poppy parade exactly the same way. 1.5 inch squares. Now back to our multi gingerbread piece. We're going to cut at 4 inches, and then we're going to cut 1 inch pieces for 1 inch pieces. And just like the shaded spruce, this is our scraps. So you're getting the most useful scraps out of these pieces as you can also. There's a method to my madness whenever I cut designer series paper, I'll tell you that. All right, so now this one, we want our stripes. This is a designer series paper that has an orient that we have to consider while we're cutting. We want our 1 inch stripes to run horizontal. So that means we need our 4 inches to run horizontal also. So this time I'm going to start with that 4 inches. I'm going to rotate and cut 1 inch strips. So we're doing this one, same exact measurements. We're just doing it in reverse order to make sure that we get our stripes going in the more visually interesting direction. We're doing 4 1 by 4 strips, and then 4 1.5 by 1.5 inch squares. So we got to take the remaining piece, cut it to 1.5. And again, to keep it as visually interesting as possible, I made sure that my stripes went light, dark, light on the piece that's going to get cut in 1.5-inch squares. All right, we're nearly there. We have all of our parts for design number 4. This will be video number 5, and then just put them aside. Then we have all of our parts for design number 2, and we're going to put that aside. All right, then we have 2 more pieces. Oh, I forgot to show you one. We have to finish cutting our granny apple. Forgot one sheet. We need a Poppy Parade triangle pattern for our other card design. Let's grab that one too. All right, let's cut this granny apple. Now, I've got my little plus signs, and I want them to be 3 3/4 by 1 3/4. We're making 3 of this card. Remember, we had 1 from the first piece that we cut, so we just need 2 more. There's our design number 1 designer series paper pieces, all cut. This is our scraps from that. So again, we're preserving our scraps in the largest pieces possible. And our final design here, our Happy Happy Christmas, we have the ornaments and the plus granny apple pattern. We need some triangles here. Now these triangles have a directional pattern, and I want them to point up. This is 4.5 by 1.5. So there's a scrap, 1.5. We need 4 pieces, 1 for each copy of the card. And there is our designer series paper for our final design. Now you're just gonna put these in a stack and set them aside. Let's take a quick look back at our basic white and our basic black panels. We'll just do one for the sake of the getting started video, but you're going to want to take these panels right now in the getting started stage, and you're going to want to stamp all of your inside greetings and emboss all of your panels. So I'm not going to do that on every video throughout this series. I'm just going to show it done. Let's start with our inside greeting. So what I like to do is I like to line up my stamps on top of my cardstock where I want them to stamp. Then I close my stamparatus, pick them up exactly where I wanted them to stamp. So they're face down on the cardstock, and I'm not gonna take them off because I've got them lined up perfectly. But you're gonna line them up, you're gonna pick them up, and then you're going to make corner marks for your liners. So you'll see that on my grid paper, I've marked where my corners are going to lie. Now, each time I stamp the inside of my card, I'll lay down my liner inside the corner marks and then ink up my stamp. The stamp that I'm using today is from our featured Spruced Up bundle, and I went ahead and stacked whatever brings you happiness, ... May it be yours this holiday season on my stamparatus. And I'm going to ink that up with Memento and stamp all 15 of my card liners at one time. This will save you so much time stamping a stack and getting your holiday cards all ready to go. So you'll see. And I found that my greeting did not need a lot of pressure. If I pressed too hard, I was blowing out this in season. So just very gently. If you find that yours needs the same thing, you can always go back and add a little extra pressure anywhere you need to clean up your greeting a little bit. So this is how I was doing my greetings. Just very gently lift it, check, press where it might need a little bit more pressure. Then I've got my greeting ready. I would go through and I would do all 15 of these inside greetings all at one time. And then we're gonna switch ink pads. We're gonna add a little detail. Let me show you the inside of this one more time. For Christmas cards, we want to have a nice greeting right there all ready for us, and maybe a little bit of decoration because you're doing a lot of these cards, right? And you want to be able to just say, you know, Dear Uncle Joe, and then love the Smith family, and move on to the next card, because you might be sending 25 or 50 or 100 of these cards. And so to fill that space with something beautiful means a little bit less that you have to write on the inside. You've got room for a little personalized note if you want to with this, but if you don't want to write a novel, this is a really cute way to fill the space. We're going to take the little present, also from Spruced Up. We're going to stamp with Poppy Parade, and I would do all 15 with Poppy Parade, and then switch ink. Gonna clean that off really well, and then it doesn't hurt to take a little bit of scrap paper and stamp off. Just make sure you don't have any pink liquid left on that stamp when you switch to the green. We've got shaded spruce here. I'm gonna stamp another little present. There's the inside of our cards. So we will do all of those inside liners at one time. And then lastly, for our getting started video here, we're gonna take our black cardstock layers, the ones that we cut here, these 5 by 5 1/4 by 4. We're gonna pop it into our Merry Melody folder. You can use whatever embossing folder you like, and we're gonna emboss this entire front. All right, so I've got it in my 3D folder. I'm gonna put it on 1, add 4 over the top, grab my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I'm gonna run this through. We will do all 15 layers at one time here, one after the next. So doing this in a assembly line style will really speed up your Stamp-A-Stack. All right, there is our liner with the musical texture. Then you've got your card bases in your kit. We're gonna go ahead and burnish the line. We're gonna adhere our stamped liners to the insides of our cards using the adhesive of your choice. And we're gonna adhere all 15 of our embossed panels to our cards. That is getting started with the Spruced Up Mega Stamp-A-Stack. This kit makes 15 cards, and it's available while supplies last in the Kitchen Table Stamper store. Head over to kitchentablestamper.com/shop. On the right-hand side, you'll see a drop-down menu where you can sort, click class packets, see if we've still got some of these available. And I will see you in video number 2, where we'll do the first design. Happy Christmas. All right, you guys, if you have any questions, reach out. Marisa at kitchentablestamper.com is my email. To shop Stampin' Up 24/7, buzz over to marisaalvarez.stampinup.net. I'll see you in the next video.